We have a name for what a senior official in the Department of Justice did today, just hours before his Department of Justice was to appear in court to have Maduro arraigned. We call it soliciting a false confession or suborning perjury. Is that what Ed Martin, who is the head of the Weaponization Committee of the Department of Justice, reporting directly to Pam Bondi and ultimately to Donald Trump, is that what he was trying to do while he fueled the flames of conspiracy by reposting a QAnon conspiracy theorist who said a version of, well, if Maduro plays ball about election interference in Venezuela in 2020 that undermined Donald Trump, maybe he'll get a better sentence. Maybe he won't get convicted of the top crimes and look at life imprisonment. Isn't it something that the Department of Justice should ignore, tamp down, put out the flames instead of promoting it? I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. What is it with right-wing MAGA conspiracy theorists and Venezuela? Country is relatively small, though it has a giant oil field, as we now all know. And in 2020, Sidney Powell, a part-time lawyer for Donald Trump and full-time crackpot, who pled guilty to crimes in Georgia related to her role in stopping the peaceful transfer of power, along with Rudy Giuliani, took to a press conference in which they claimed that Venezuela, or particularly a Venezuelan business person, in cahoots with the Venezuelan government led by Chavez at the time, later Maduro, had special software through Dominion Voting Systems. Yes, the company that got $800 million for defamation against Fox News, and Smartmatic, who also has a multi-billion-dollar case against Fox News and others, that working together, they flipped votes from Trump to Biden using software that had been tested in Venezuela. And that ran ad nauseum and motivated and animated all of the attacks on the sanctity and security of the 2020 election. All debunked, all rejected. 70 courts, federal courts, took a look, and every one of them said no evidence. We had companies hired by MAGA to find fraud that found none. And we had the cybersecurity unit that Donald Trump had created, who said it was the safest election we've ever had in 2020. But remember the connection between Donald Trump and Venezuela and how Venezuela could help him out now, right? He's in a little bit of a historical jam. People think that he tried to steal the election. He tried to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power and was indicted for it. We just had Jack Smith in video clip after video clip saying that beyond a reasonable doubt, Donald Trump is a crook. How convenient that less than a week after Jack Smith and his testimony was released to the American public, Donald Trump captured a guy who could say, in order to get a sweetheart deal, that Venezuela was involved with fraud. Let's watch Sidney Powell in action along with Rudy Giuliani at a press conference, just to remind you of what I'm talking about. Play the clip.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States. The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure he never lost an election after one constitutional referendum came out the way he did not want it to come out.
Now, not only did 70 or so federal courts and state courts reject this security breach theory led by Venezuela and a Venezuelan business person, but civil action, civil cases like the defamation suit brought by Dominion Voting Systems in Delaware against Fox prove their point. They're not guilty or responsible for any election interference or software glitch or anything in Venezuela. Nothing says we're not guilty of that than a $780 million defamation case. that they won and settled with Fox News. Now, that hasn't stopped Ed Martin. Now, let's talk about Ed Martin for a minute. Ed Martin posted this on social media hours today before Maduro was arraigned, right? There it is. He doesn't discredit it. He amplifies it. You know, lesser charges for him admitting, confessing. Isn't that an invitation to Maduro to lie in order to get lesser charges for this president? Isn't that what it is? I mean, and Ed Martin is promoting it. Ed Martin was the U.S. attorney for Washington, D.C., never been a prosecutor before, but had been a MAGA defense lawyer, got onto the radar screen of Donald Trump, put him in. He was so cracked that even this Senate took a look at him and said, we're not confirming you as U.S. attorney. And they had to put in Jeanine Pirro. So they kicked him upstairs to a new committee on the weaponization of the Department of Justice led by Pam Bondi, which is exactly what it sounds like. And he was been tasked. He's like a minister without portfolio. He gets to roam anywhere. He's a free agent. And they put him in charge. Go after Letitia James. You know, bring her down for fraud. So he puts on his trench coat on a hot August day in New York, starts marching around the brownstone where Letitia James lives in Brooklyn for no reason, like he's some sort of demented Inspector Gadget or Inspector Clouseau. You know, he both doxed her and targeted her, harassed her at the same time. So that Ed Martin, you know, the one that's always got Eagle Ed Martin, you know, and promoting people like the Miami prosecutor, Jason Reading Quinones, you know, justice is coming. And when Letitia James got indicted, although since unindicted, since dismissed, he put a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge with an eagle flying over it. I mean, he's like a real jackass. But he is a senior official within the Department of Justice. It's not a former member. It's not somebody that knew Donald Trump, once represented Donald Trump. He's currently representing the United States of America and taxpayer dollars as we speak. So does anybody think that Donald Trump, who has been busy trying to, you know, whitewash and sane wash history and make himself out to be the hero of his own story about Jan 6th, does anybody think that it would put it past him to offer Maduro a deal to quote unquote confess to a crime he never committed about election interference in return for asylum somewhere? Look, even Manuel Noriega, the Panamanian strongman that George H.W. Bush took out in 36 years ago, even he got a deal. He was let go after 17 years on a 45-year sentence and sent off to France. You don't think Maduro would do that? Keep your money. You and your wife, who we injured and damaged during the raid to kidnap you, you go off with your sons with a big trunk full of money and we'll work it out. And you say, you know, election interference. Sort of like Godfather 2 and Frankie Pantangeli had to testify about, Michael Corleone this and Michael Corleone that. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. I have my own family, Senator. I've been looking to do my Frankie Pantangeli impression for quite some time. So that is where we are with Maduro. Nobody would put it past him, you know? And are we really blockading Venezuela and its oil? There's new reporting that 16 ships, many of them filled with oil, got out of the harbor and are on their way to other places through a combination of technological spoofing where the ship's name is changed on all the radar screens and it changes its call signal and its name of the ship and the flag. And some of them, just 12 of the 16 ships are just dark. They're just on the water. Nobody knows who they are or what they are as they make their way out to ports outside of Venezuela. This is what Marco Rubio was referring to as we're doing a complete blockade. They're not doing a blockade at all. So we're going to continue to follow why senior officials in the Department of Justice are suggesting to an indicted criminal that they'll go easy on him if he just fesses up to election fraud. Here on MeidasTouch and on Legal AF, you can see things have gotten global. We're expanding Legal AF to meet the challenge I'm running a 20% off sale right now. Legal AF Substack Live, Substack for Legal AF, 20% off paid membership. Brings it down to about $6.50 a month. We just did a live report today from the courthouse with Adam Klasfeld, who was there reporting, stepped out of the courtroom, jumped on a Legal AF Substack Live with me. That's what we do here at Legal AF, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.